Alright, man, whether you want to believe it or not, sexual degeneracy and sexual promiscuity is opening you up to spiritual attacks. Let me say that again. Sexual degeneracy and sexual promiscuity is opening you up to spiritual attacks. Now, if you've been tapped into this channel, What the Fulati, or the main channel, Fulati Fitness, you already know about the importance of protecting your energy, your sexual energy, your life force energy when it comes to practices like semen retention. But today I want to get even more esoteric, more spiritual, and more psychological with it, talking about why this is so important for you as you go on your own self-development journey, your own spiritual journey, your own self-mastery journey, because it's going to be more evident to you the longer you go on these streaks. I talked about it previously on this channel, the difference between short-term streaks on semen retention and the difference between long-term streaks on semen retention, comparing the two. When you get longer streaks, man, go check that out. Check that video out, because things get more spiritual for sure. And this is one of the things that takes it to the next level and what makes you realize how important this practice really is. And if by some chance a female is watching this video, this applies to you too. I know my channel and my brand is focused on helping men on the road to self-mastery, but if you stumble across this video, yes, it does apply to females too, because sexual degeneracy and sexual promiscuity for females will also open you up to spiritual attacks. So let's talk about it. What am I talking about when it's referencing spiritual attacks? Now, if you are into any type of esoteric doctrines, any type of ancient wisdom, stuff like that, you've probably heard about demons. Even if you're not, you've heard about what a demon is. Now, I want to break it down into a more simple term of what demons really are. Because, on contrary, they're not some fucking guy who lives under the earth with a pitchfork and horns and flames around him and stuff. No, that's not a demon. That's not the devil. That is not Satan, if you want to call it. What Satan really is, what demons really are unseen metaphysical forces of nature. Let me say that again. They are unseen. You cannot see them. You cannot touch them. You cannot smell them. You cannot taste them. I don't know, pause, man. I don't know what y'all be up to, man. You cannot do none of that, bro. But you can feel them. You can feel them, and what they do is they essentially work on your mind. They work on your psyche, because like I've said before in this channel, the mind is essentially the middleman between the spiritual world and the material world. Your mind takes information from the spiritual world and directs it out into the material world. Same thing goes the other way. Your mind takes in information to the material world and sends it back up into the spiritual world. The spiritual is more important because that is the highest level. That is the highest, essentially, realm of existence that creates everything else, but they work simultaneously together. Just like how you have nerves in your body that send out into your different limbs, your different organs, your different just structures of the body, and those structures of the body have nerves that send it back up into the brain. Same type of idea. So the demons, these unseen metaphysical forces of nature, they're on the spiritual world. Spiritual world is not the material world. You cannot, like I said, taste, touch, hear, see, whatever. You can't do none of that. But what they do is they essentially imprint a certain energy onto your mind, onto your psyche. And that psyche is eventually, like I said, is a middleman in between the spiritual world and the material world. Your psyche will influence your behaviors, even on a subconscious level. Like, you don't know you're doing these things, but they are happening. And when it comes to these esoteric doctrines and stuff like that that I'm mentioning, that I'm really putting together, try to package it up in a way where it's more palatable for you guys, because it's hard to read these types of books. A lot of people don't want to read these types of books. A lot of people don't care. But if I bring it out in a way where you guys can absorb these gains, so you guys can make these gains, it'll make more sense. So in these doctrines, basically, in these books, in these pieces of wisdom, they reference how sexual energy is cosmic energy. It is creative energy. It is the generative principle. If you're into any type of secret society stuff, looking into them, the G in Freemasonry is referencing the generative principle. Being able to produce life, create things. Doesn't mean just a baby all the time. That's what reproduction is for, but that generative principle can create other things. So essentially siphoning that away from people makes them less spiritual, because the spiritual realm allows you to create. You're using the spiritual world, works through the mind, like I said, and then acts out into the body and creates out in the material. But first it starts in the spiritual. Then it goes into your mind as a vision, as a thought, whatever you want to call it. Then you work it out into the physical world. So if you siphon that away from people, that sexual energy, that sexual cosmic type of ability to connect to the spiritual world, you essentially cut the cord to your higher self. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, your higher self is what is giving you the directions and giving you the clues, the intuitions, the revelations, all these types of things to help you direct you to the right path in life, to the higher path in life. You have the higher self doing that, and then you have a lower self pulling you down, like how you've seen on maybe movies or TV shows and this and that, of a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder. Same concept applies, but it's in your mind. It's in your mind. All is mind. And like I said, siphoning away that sexual energy is cutting off essentially the volume of the higher self talking to you. And the lower self is speaking more and more and more and more to you. The demons aren't doing that. That's not your demons. The demons are putting these types of things to essentially make you more, lower your vibration to the point where you only can hear your lower self. It's all on you at the end of the day. Demons cannot, unless you want to get into deeper topics like black magic, which I'm going to talk about a lot of this type of shit, and also biohacking, fitness, philosophy, spirituality, all that stuff on the Patreon, like I mentioned before. So if you do want to reserve your spot in there, I've already been reserving spots for people in my Discord. I mentioned on a video not too long ago about reserving your spot. If you're not in the Discord and you're hearing this right now, hop in the Discord or DM me on Instagram. All links will be posted in the pinned comment of this video to reserve your spot. But nevertheless, we'll be talking more about that stuff on there. But black magic, essentially, you're doing a pact with this demon or this unseen metaphysical force of nature, like I said before, to use their powers in return for something else. That is essentially what selling your soul is. But we're not doing that when we're just being sexually promiscuous. We're not doing black magic to that point. Okay, relax. I'm not saying this, and I want to preface this by saying that sex is not a bad thing whatsoever. It is not. It is something that you got to be conscious of why you're doing it, who you're doing it with, and for what purpose. If you're just doing it for pleasure, just to get off, get a couple of seconds of pleasure, you know what I mean? Like, that is stupid, because it takes a lot of toll from your mind, body, and soul to do that, because it's meant for procreation. And if you learn other practices to not essentially ejaculate outwards, you in-ejaculate, you don't spill your seed, that is still a very spiritual practice. So you got to know who you're doing it with. You don't do that with no random broad, or like I said, if a female watches, you don't do that with no random motherfucking dude that you met at the club. You got to protect that energy, because you are going to be opening yourself up to these demonic or spiritual attacks. The more you do it, essentially, it is like an armor. The more you conserve and harness and cultivate the sexual energy, the more of a aura you have to you, the more of a force field you have to you, the more of a protective layer you have to you, because you're harnessing that life force energy that feeds the mind, body, and soul. Because like I say this all the time, man, and I will be making a video on this channel about, for the people who don't believe in semen retention, about explaining why, even for a person like me who I first started, I was like, this is bullshit too. But I'm 3.5 years into it now, and I understand even more and more as I go on this journey how powerful it is. Like, if this energy has an amount of power to create a human being out of nothing, you came out of that energy. I came out of that energy. Everybody and everything, even these plants, come out of that generative source of energy. It's not the same when it comes to plants of how it comes about, but it's the same thing. So if you harness that, you cultivate that, you protect that, of course it's gonna help you out in nourishing the mind, body, and soul, and elevating your consciousness, and giving your body more energy, real vigor. Of course it's gonna make your mind more clear, sharp, and all that stuff. Of fucking course. So when you keep depleting yourself to that, you are taking away layers of that spiritual armor that is protecting you from these unseen metaphysical forces of nature. And a bunch of other things do that too. The type of content you watch, the type of music you listen to, the type of food you're putting in your body, the type of water you're drinking, the type of people you're around, all that stuff correlates to stripping away your spiritual armor. And there's obviously things opposite of that, of eating good food, getting out in the sun, nature, you're with the right people, you're listening to right music, you're watching the right content, you're feeding your soul, your mind, and your body. It's gonna help you build that up. But you gotta understand that at the top of that, the peak of that, of what either elevates that spiritual armor or takes it down, tears it down, is spiritual and sexual energy. So the more you deplete yourself from that, the more you kind of just waste and you don't put any value to it, the more you're gonna be open to the spiritual attacks. And now let's talk about how those spiritual attacks come about. So when you become more open, what I'm saying is you lose your level of discernment. When you're on semen retention, when you're on celibacy, when you're on practicing a sort of sexual discipline into your life, you become more discerned. Like you become more aware. Your level of consciousness rises. You're not so easy to manipulate. You're not so easy to be so gullible to shit. Like, you're not gonna want to go hang out with a bunch of people that you were before because you know they're on bullshit. But when your levels of awareness and consciousness were lower, you're down for whatever. You're down to do a bunch of drugs. You're down to do eat bullshit food. You're down to watch bullshit content. You're down to watch or listen to bullshit stuff. You have no purpose or vision for your life because you are so depleted of your own life force energy that awakens these spiritual centers, that awakens these higher states of consciousness, that you're just like a pawn on a chessboard and somebody else is using you. You're not the king. You're not choosing your own path. You're just a pawn and you're just being thrown around. It doesn't matter, bro. You are so just going about life without any direction because you have no discernment. With discernment comes direction. Let me say that again. With discernment comes direction. And especially as a man, if you don't have a direction in life, you are fucked, my guy. You are fucked. Like, I keep it blunt, like a goddamn eighth of weed, man. I keep it blunt like that with you guys, bro, especially on this channel. You have no idea how important having a purpose and direction is in life. And if you think, oh yeah, I have a purpose and that, no, you don't have that purpose. Because I'm telling you right now, your purpose doesn't come from what you choose. And I'll be making a whole guide, honestly, on on figuring out your purpose, on how you really figure out your purpose, because there's a lot of bullshit ass self-improvement content creators out here talking about purposes and that, and they always lack the spiritual aspect of this, man. I am trying to bridge the gap from people who are on self-improvement, because I see a shift. And you can come back to this video, but I already know this. You can timestamp this or whatever you want. I see the shift of these guys getting on self-improvement, getting the basics of it, but some of them, just like myself, just like you, know there's more to it. And the next step towards that is self-mastery. That is what I'm trying to bring with this brand, with this channel, with this message, with this content, with all the stuff that I'm trying to do, is help those guys bridge from self-improvement onto the road to self-mastery, because that's what I'm on the road to right now. And you guys are watching this happen in real time, and you guys are also on this journey of self-mastery if you're watching this channel, if you're supporting me, if you're getting all this content, this wisdom, this information, and applying it to your life. But what I'm saying is, all these types of people who talk about purpose, this and that, they lack that aspect of self-mastery, of becoming the ultimate version of yourself, not the best version of yourself, the ultimate version of yourself, because the ultimate concludes all the aspects of life: mind, body, and soul, your finances, entrepreneurship, this and that, your purpose, what are you giving out to the people, your service, your way you can connect people, all that stuff, man. Not just, oh man, I'm gonna get jacked, oh man, I'm gonna make money, I'm not like get this girl. Like, that is cool, but bro, you're gonna graduate to that point. And after you graduate to that point, what are you gonna do? You're gonna enter the school of philosophy, bro. Yes, sir, that's what we're doing here, bro. I am creating my own philosophy, Fulati, come on, man. Put two and two together. But nevertheless, before I get too sidetracked with that, bro, your purpose and your direction become much more clear, much more direct, much more impactful when you're on celibacy, semen retention, and you're holding in, not holding it. I don't like, oh man, I'm holding it, I'm about to explode. And that's not what this practice is about. But you're harnessing that, you're transmuting that, and when you're transmuting that, you become so, your body becomes an antenna for that higher self. Like we said before, you got two sitting on the side of you. You can hear it louder. The volume becomes louder and louder and louder and louder. But when you're doing the opposite, the volume becomes lower and lower and lower, and that lower self of you, like this goddamn plane coming over me, the volume of that becomes louder and louder and louder, pulling you in the direction of being your lowest self, your lowest nature. You're not elevating yourself to your highest potential to not only become your best version, become your ultimate version, but also do that for other people so you can help elevate them. You're not doing that while you're sexually promiscuous and sexually degenerate, because these demons, these spiritual attacks are making you're losing the discernment. You're losing the awareness. You're losing the higher levels of consciousness that come with becoming more, valuing your sexual energy and overall yourself. And when you lose that discernment, you're down to do whatever, bro. You're down to go do drugs. You're down to go to the club all the time. You're down to go just do bullshit, bro, that you know is going to negatively affect your life. But hey, man, you have no discernment. And with the no discernment, like I said, you have no direction. So you do not care. You don't give a fuck. Like, I was in that point. A lot of people are in that point. You don't give a fuck. You don't care if you're gonna get in trouble doing this thing. You don't care that maybe you can get this girl pregnant and what's it called? Just basically ruin your life at that point. You don't care that you can get STDs. You don't care that on a spiritual side that you are creating soul ties with these people, with these women, and if women are watching, with these men. You're creating soul ties with them. And that is one of the biggest sources of spiritual attacks. Soul ties. Because if you go bang a broad that has got like 20, 30 bodies, you're not just banging her, but you are banging and attracting and essentially, like I said, thumbprinting that energy into your psyche. They carry that karmic energy from the other dudes they fucked. For women, those dudes, I mean, the guys that you're fucking are carrying around the energy of all the girls and all the guys. It's just a mess, bro. It's a fucking mess. There's a reason why religion, spiritual practices, and all that stuff promote not having sex outside of marriage. Even though I think marriage, the piece of paper, all that stuff is bullshit. Like, marriage is supposed to be the divine masculine, divine feminine joining together, like I spoke about on my previous video about what the truth behind twin flames and soulmates. If you haven't checked that out, man, go check that shit out after this. Obviously, that's what marriage and stuff is for. That's why they promote it, because if you let these people run rampant like you're seeing right now in Western societies, obviously in more conservative societies and countries, it's way less prominent because they have a more higher level of respect to their religion, to their faith, this and that. Even though I'm not religious, I what's it called, study all religions, faiths, and spiritual practices and stuff. But I wouldn't consider myself into one corner. But even though I'm not, I see the benefit of having that, because there's certain rules where, like, God ordained this to happen and the universe ordained this to happen. It's supposed to be there, because if you don't, like, human nature is just gonna go down to a dark path. And human nature is one where it's very animalistic. We think we're so sophisticated, so evolved from our ancestors. We're not, bro. We're not. Even though we got an iPhone, I can speak fluently in my language, and we got cars, we got this, we got that, the internet. We are, like, if something happens to the world where we got to go back to those points, watch how quick it's going to happen. Our human nature will go back like an instant. We're going to go back to what I said on one of my previous videos on this channel, the 3 states of man. You're going to go right back into beast mode. You're going to become the animal version of you in a matter of seconds. You got to work, you got to put in the practices to raise up your level of consciousness to not only the level of man, like I said in that video, but the level of a God man, the self-realized man, the higher self. You got to put in the work, and sexual promiscuity and sexual degeneracy is just knocking you off that path. It's just making you more prone to these spiritual attacks, like I'm saying, that are just going to pull you down to the animalistic nature, and you're going to be stuck in the animalistic nature. And like I said, you're not going to give a shit about where your life is going. Yes, if you have food, water, shelter, and you can have sex, that's all you care about. You don't care about anything else. You don't care about becoming the better version of yourself, not only for yourself, but to help other people and fulfill your purpose, become a divine vessel of God. You don't care about doing that. And that's what demons are really doing. They're not, like I said, chasing after you with a knife like fucking Michael Myers. No, bro, they are influencing your mind. All they can do is influence your mind. And again, I'll be making a bunch of videos on the Patreon about demonology, the psychology of angels and demons, stuff like that. So reserve your spot now, today, by DMing me on Discord or Patreon to, Discord or Instagram to RSVP your spot, basically. But that influence either allows you to, like, if you have a level of discernment and you put yourself in these types of positions, even though you probably won't because you have that level of discernment, but let's say you put yourself in that position hypothetically, you have the discernment to the higher self is going to be battling, basically. It's just going to be talking back and forth. They're not punching each other, they're not having a boxing match, this and that, but you're going to be able to hear the higher self talking to you more than the lower self. It's still going to be talking to you, but the higher self has a higher pull to you. The influence is just from the demons. Your choice comes down to you. But the more that discernment goes away, the more that these demons and these spiritual attacks can influence you to act upon whatever it is that you're going to do. So build up that barrier, build up that spiritual and that spiritual force field around you, so you basically become bulletproof to this shit. Because you want a good life. I guarantee you that. I want a good life. I guarantee you that. And if you do want to do that, you gotta have sacrifices of the lower end levels of life. Sometimes they're more enticing in the moment, but when you have that level of discernment, like I've talked about on the ebook, the semen retention ebook, and the semen retention full guide on how you can succeed on this practice. If you haven't checked that out yet, man, it's on the main channel. Just type in how to succeed on semen retention. You'll find it there. Go check it out. The ebook is linked to it. I did a whole audio series of the book as well. Go check that out, bro. If you want to get the book, listen to the book, do all that shit, man. I am giving you all the sauce how you can succeed on this practice. But what I said in that, in the book of one of the quotes in there from the Buddha, and I said this in the video guide too as well. If a wise person sees the great pleasure, a wise person will see the lesser pleasure, but look to the great, and he'll essentially. I fucked up that quote like bad. That's why you need to go get the book, bro. I can't remember it too well. But essentially, the wise person will see the lower pleasure that might be enticing at the moment, and he'll see the higher pleasure that will take some time to get to, that will you'll have to put effort towards it, and it's going to be more long term. It's not going to happen like that, but he'll look towards that and follow that and let the lower pleasure go away. Same thing with this, bro. Same thing with this. Yes, it might feel great physically, mentally, this and that when you release, but it's going to creep up on you afterwards. The post-nut clarity is going to hit that, like, bro, why did I do this? Whether it's to porn or whether it's to just hookup culture, this and that. Like, it's going to hit you and you're like, why did I do that? But if you have a direction and purpose that it takes you further, it takes you longer to get to, it's much more difficult, man, it feels way more sweeter to get towards that, bro. And your brain is going to eventually become wired to prioritize more long-term goals, not instant gratification, because that's all this is. Instant gratification of your sensory organs, of your sexual organs. That's all this stuff is. And funny note, bro, like, some more personal experiences, bro, like, I can tell you right now, the post-nut clarity you get, whether it's to wanking off the pixels on the screen or just the just hooking up with girls, or like I said, if girls are watching this far into the video, man, shout out to you. I don't know, like, how the fuck you got this far into the video, or how you even found this video. But if you're doing that with guys, obviously, I don't know how it is with girls, but the post-nut clarity you get for guys, like, man, like, you're just like, bro, why did I waste my fucking time doing that? I literally just used this person's body to masturbate. There was no connection, there was no purpose, there was no this. This is what, in my opinion, is why sex needs to be more, like, respected. I am 100%, like I said before in this video, not against sex. Obviously not. Like, there's a place, a time, and a reason for it. But if you're just disrespecting this sacred energy exchange, sex, S-E-X, like, you're devaluing yourself, and you're devaluing other people and their, like, uniqueness and individuality. You're just using them for just getting a nut. Like, that's it, bro. That's you. You're not even looking at them as a person. You're looking at them as a sex doll. You're looking at them as a piece of just flesh, of just meat. That's the animal part of you, bro. And I'll tell you, like I just said, the post-nut clarity hits you. You're gonna be like, why the fuck did I do that? And you're gonna feel drained. You're gonna feel just out of whack for a couple of days, even a week sometimes, bro. Like, that's happened to the point where, like, a week into it, you're just like, bro, there's something off about me. There's just something off. And that's that karmic energy that you exchange with that person through doing these acts of just sexual promiscuity and degeneracy. You just feel that, bro, and you're just like, bro, like, what is off with me? And you don't have that level of higher levels of awareness and consciousness to where you know that. With porn, you know right away. Like most guys, I would say 99% of guys, you will have a feeling of just dirtiness, of just shame, just guilt. Those are those spiritual attacks. When you have a feeling of shame, guilt, confusion, of just like dirtiness, you're easy to be manipulated. You're easily to just go down a darker path. The more you do it, the more you do it. You start, like the light at the end of the tunnel just becomes closer and closer and closer and closer, to the point where you're just like, man, like, I got no hope in life. Like, this is the point. I didn't get to that point of like sexual addiction and fucking like living in a state of lust, but I know the people that I work with, one-on-one consultations, coaching programs, I know it can get to that point. I didn't experience it one-on-one, but I know it can get to that point, and God willing, thank the Lord or the universe or whatever, I got out of that point, and I'm trying to help people also realize that and give them the tools to get themselves out of that point, because I cannot do it for you. I cannot hold your hand and get you out to that point. I can guide you, whether it's through just videos, whether it's through stuff like the Patreon, whether it's through the ebook, whether it's through one-on-one consultations, coaching programs, courses eventually, all that stuff, man. I can help guide you, but you gotta realize this. It's gotta hit you to the point. Like when it hit me to the point, I was like, man, this is not beneficial for me to live out a good life. Because I am just like, my whole perspective on women, on relationships is fucked. My only pursuit is pleasure. My only, like, my value of myself is low. I'm just trying to get value. When you are getting these urges to go out, chase women, this and that, is because you don't value yourself enough. You do not value yourself enough, and you think that if I bang this girl, she lets me bang, I will feel that validation from her that is gonna make me feel fulfilled, bro. I'll feel like the man. All my homies gonna be like, damn, bro, like you got so many bodies, this and that, because you don't value yourself. True spirituality, true spiritual knowledge at the end of the day, before you get to the level of self-realization, is building up self-worth and understanding the true nature of self, understanding your true value. That's what it is. That's what's so important about spirituality when it comes to this world. You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the girls in the world, you can have all the muscles in the world, you can have everything you want on the material end. If you don't value yourself enough, you're always going to be chasing after something. And sexual discipline, spiritual knowledge, coming together to form that, is going to make you get that self-realization, get that self-worth, self-value, that is going to make you, like I said, bulletproof to those spiritual and demonic attacks. Like, those are the demonic attacks. Like I said, they act on you to make you feel less of yourself. And when you feel less of yourself, you're going to look for external means. And the world works in a way where it feeds off that low conscious, low vibrational energy that these if you want to call it elites, people, this and that, put out in front of you. If you feel very low of yourself and you're alone, this and that, you're gonna go watch porn. If you feel very low of yourself and you're alone, you're gonna go chase women all the time. If you feel low of yourself and you're just home alone, you're gonna go watch Netflix, watch bullshit ass things that are gonna keep telling you all this nonsense. And it's just predictive programming. It's just conscious programming that's just gonna make you further and further away from your highest self. That is spiritual attacks 101, bro. That is it on a very basic level, bro. Like, you might have heard people talk about this stuff on YouTube, maybe spiritual content, spiritual semen retention content, whatever it is, bro. Like, this is the most palatable way I can explain it. Because when I understood this, man, it just takes you to another level of awareness, another level of not being scared, but it's being more aware, bro. Awareness is the most important thing you can have in this world. Your attention. Where is your attention being directed towards? That is awareness. It's so important, bro. And if your attention is just being siphoned through your sexual energy to just nonsense, bullshit stuff, you're just gonna be, like I said, a pawn on the chessboard. You're just gonna be on the river of life, and it's gonna be throwing you around. You're gonna be hitting rocks. You have no idea where you're going, bro. You're essentially walking around life blindfolded, and some dipshit douchebag person who doesn't have the best interest in your heart is just pulling you around. But true spiritual knowledge, whether that's through books, whether that's through content, whether that's through Patreon, whether that's through whatever it is slowly, one by one, taking off the layers of that blindfold and showing you the true nature of reality. Because once you have the vision, once you have the discernment, once you have the awareness, it's all on you to figure out your own path. If you choose with that discernment to go back to the blue pill, essentially in the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, go back to that blue pill, it's on you. But for the people who are living with the blindfold on, they're just getting injected that blue pill without ever knowing it. Once someone awakens you to it, or something awakens you to it, and you go back, that is your problem. That is your choice. And like I said before, on this channel, Simulated Intention slowly breaks you out the simulation. I don't think it's possible once you start getting this level of awareness to go back. I don't think it's possible. If you guys think that, if you guys did do that, comment down below, bro. Like, you went back to the state of ignorance is bliss. You genuinely took the blue pill and said, hey man, I want the blindfold back on. I don't think you can do that, bro. The longer you go on Simulated Intention, the longer you go on these paths, bro, the more you just see, and the more you see, the more you believe, the more you believe, the more you cannot unsee. Once you believe, the signs are all there for you. And when the signs are all there for you, the more you believe. And it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just a positive feedback loop that just awakens you more and more to this. So essentially with this video, hopefully you got the understanding of why sexual degeneracy, whether that's through porn, whether that's through hookup culture, whether that's through just being in a state of where lust is controlling you, will open you up to spiritual attacks. And you're gonna know that you're gonna feel these, you're gonna experience these on a subconscious psychological level. It's not gonna happen physically. It's not gonna happen where some just, I don't know, like scary Halloween costume guy is gonna chase you down. Like, that is not a demonic attack. It's just your discernment goes to a lower level, and you're gonna be, with your discernment's in a lower level, like I said, bro, you're gonna put yourself in positions that's gonna hurt you in life. It might not physically hurt you, but it's gonna spiritually hurt you. You are essentially inflicting the damage onto yourself, like I said. But that influence is just making you do it. And those influences can be like getting rid of if you go on this path of Simulated Intention, celibacy, overall valuing yourself and every aspect of yourself, especially your sexual energy. So next time you're about to go watch porn, next time you're about to go swipe away on Tinder, next time you're about to go to the club with your homies, next time you're just fiending for sexual promiscuity, think about that, man. Think about, like, actually don't even think about it. Just pause. And if you're aware enough, if you're able to meditate, if you do the types of things I speak about on this channel, you're gonna be able to hear the voices of your higher self and your lower self battling with each other. And depending on how you've been living your life, one is gonna be louder than the other. And the one that's really, if you can't even hear the other, man, you already know. Maybe it's on a good end, you can't even hear the lower end, but I don't think that's possible unless you're a self-realized saint like Jesus, Buddha, like that level. Like, I'm not on that level at all. Like, my lower self, that motherfucker be yapping like a motherfucker, bro. Like, but the higher self, is a little bit louder. A little bit louder. Even me all the way until this point. I'm not no saint, I'm not no God, I'm not no nothing, bro. I'm just a guy on this journey of self-mastery, trying to help others elevate their mind, body, and soul to also embark on this righteous path. I would say the higher self, slowly throughout the years I've been on this path, is speaking to me louder and louder and louder. No matter what position I'm in, what place I'm in, it's gonna be a little bit louder if I continue on this path. If I slip up, this and that, then the lower is gonna start doing that. And when the lower starts doing that, yes, the higher can battle it out, but it all comes down to me. If that discernment is not there, bro, then I am just at the whims of my lower self, taking control, taking the wheel, because some demonic attack, some demonic influence, energy from these unseen metaphysical forces of nature has imprinted its energy on me and made me susceptible to my lower self taking control and putting myself in shitty ass situations. And I'll pay for it, whether it's immediately, a month from now, a year from now, or the lifetime and the type of life I build up for myself. I'm gonna look back on it and be like, man, this is not what I had planned for myself. This is not what I wanted. And you're gonna be in a state of depression, of guilt, shame, all that stuff, which, if, like I said about the positive feedback loop, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of a negative feedback loop. And you're just under demonic influences the entire time, spiritual attacks the entire time. And your lower self essentially has taken over the wheel and become the full-time driver. That's what happens, bro. That's what happens when you don't value yourself, you don't value your sexual energy, you don't value your place in the world. That's what happens. You become a target. You become a big ass bullseye target on your back for these demons, these unseen metaphysical forces of nature that are all around you. You cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot hear, you cannot taste, smell, you can't do none of that. But they can do it to you by influencing your mind, by influencing your psyche. You become a huge ass target. And those motherfuckers, they'll pop your ass real quick, bro. 360 no scope. Like some Call of Duty shit, man. But there it is, bro. I'm out here in the field. Like, really out here in the field, in the flesh, dropping y'all that game so you guys can make these gains. And I'm out of here. Peace.